Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ghost in the Go podcast, brought to you by a van down by the Riv. Right now, I'm going to bring in my co-host, Buddy. Buddy, come on in here. Eventually, Buddy. Where do you go? There we go. Hi,
Oh,
Buddy.
hey,
Did you not hear
you
me
see me?
introduce you?
Yeah. I apologize. My camera went out like 5 seconds before the intro ended, and I had to fix that with a quickness. But welcome to another a lovely edition of Buddy versus Technology. Technology is currently scored at I think 8, and Buddy is 1. So
You
while
got a
I
victory. When did
continue
you
to
get a
strive to
victory?
be better, um, I don't know. It's still kicking my ass, dude.
It's always one of my favorite things when Buddy fights the internet.
Oh, Buddy hates the internet.
Well, the internet's not too fond of you.
Yeah, right. I've heard the internet talk some awful shit about me, so I don't know.
How you doing, Buddy?
I'm doing pretty. Other than my internet issues, Brendan. Like I was saying earlier in before the show, it's my hump day. Stupid, awful staff meetings, stupid people, and those are all the people that I work with. Yeah, I'm doing great. Other than that, dude, it's like I'm almost there to Friday. We had a really good, holy shit, good filming Sunday. Big thanks to Joe Wrestling or Joey Paranormal or Joey B or um some or the soon to be dad, Joe Britland and his
Hey.
wife. A big congratulations. Joe did it. He knocked up his wife, and they're expecting little baby Britland in November of
That's awesome.
2026.
Congrats on the sex, Joey. We appreciate it.
Good job, Joe. We knew you could do it. Joe is
All
awesome.
that all
That's
that
all I got to say.
all that self
Joe,
practice paid off.
all that practice, yeah, all that practice that he does, dude. He really killed it, dude. Like on Saturday, I'm like, Joe, I need you to come and film us talking to this brewmaster. We're gonna be drinking a few beers. Just take our pictures. Just make it look cool. This guy brought like 5 fucking cameras, dude. He brought video. He brought lighting. He brought a mic. I brought my mic. That's why my sound I think is a little off today because I'm using a different cord. But oh my god, like next level filming. Really happy with how things came out. I'm doing the intro this weekend at a friend's house, and we'll be premiering that probably the following week. So stay tuned to A Van Down by the Riv for all these great podcasts that are coming out. The mid card, the wrestling thing with also with Joe. This guy's all
Yeah.
over the place. His face
Joe's my
is
partner
everywhere.
in crime on Friday nights. We do
Yeah,
the mid card from 7 to 8, and it is a very fun show. It's getting a lot of attention in the wrestling community. I've upset a lot of AEW fans.
yeah,
It's all fun. You know what I mean? And it's a good
cool.
time. Me and Joe, we got a real good thing going on the wrestling side. It's
And from take it from a guy who does, if you don't, even if you don't like wrestling, I don't really follow it. I haven't followed it since like the NWO back in those days. But just to listen to these guys banter, it's like you almost feel like you know what you're talking about because they describe it so well and they talk about it, and it's like, oh my god, it's like I'm almost there at the squared circle. Like I understand all that's going on, and this is an amazingly entertaining show as well. So
two guys with an infectious love for wrestling. We both love it. We both love talking about it. So it makes the episodes really fun. And we're doing some cool things. We just added a segment that we there's a thing called the pay-per-view generator online.
mhm.
And so you just click, you know what I mean, randomize, and then it'll just spit you out a random pay-per-view that you can
Oh
watch
yeah, yeah,
on Peacock. So we did
nice,
Bash of the Beach 2000. We did a special episode on Sunday to talk about the WWE draft and to
nice.
talk about that pay-per-view. It was great. I can't wait to see what that generator spits out next because some of these pay-per-views are real tough to watch, but they're fun to talk
Oh, I
about.
bet. I bet.
You know?
I told Joe on Saturday, I really love in the background how he's got the old school like the wrestling video game. But it's pretty cool.
It's
Even if
always
you have no
great,
idea, it's like, oh wow, this is fun. Movement and lights and
right?
stuff.
Yeah, it's a good time. Friday nights is
Oh,
always
for
fun.
sure.
It's always good to talk wrestling, and Joey's really he loves it as much as I do. But we have two very different views on it too. There's a lot of
Oh,
stuff
of
that we
course.
disagree on that it just makes for good conversation. It's always fun.
Right.
Congrats, Joey. We're really happy for you and your wife.
Oh, awesome job, Joe. You did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, buddy, you want to
Um.
talk about our guest that we have today?
So speaking of different views, um, our guests tonight, there's 4 of them. One team it's one whole team. One two team set is from the West Coast. The other set of two is from the East Coast. Check us out on Get Haunted, by the way. I didn't say that, but Get Haunted Network. Anyway, they're from both sides of the country. They both are resolute. They honestly, dude, this is the third time I've talked to these guys, and I'm still impressed. I'm still like wowed by what they do. It's just like everything that people have to say about like spirit boxes and like, well, that could be a radio or that could be some guy's radio voice. They take all that out, and their method is just like wow, like you'll see. Words just can't describe it right now. You'll see. We have some examples to play in a little bit, but all four of them are paranormal investigators. They use a method called direct radio voice. It's similar to a spirit box, but like I said, without the radio, they'll probably have a much more scientific and intelligent explanation when they come on. All four are longtime paranormal investigators. You can see some of their material before this project on our website. We posted them on A Van by the Riv podcast on Facebook. I'm going to bring out the first. And anybody who knows me knows that I struggle with name pronunciation. So I'm going to bring out the first one. Our first guest from the lovely state of New Jersey. He is a paranormal investigator. She is a paranormal investigator. He is Ron, aka the Yak Man, Yacovetti, and he is joined by the lovely and talented Lourdes Gonzalez. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hello, how are you?
All the names are correct. Let's move.
Buddy nailed it. Good job, buddy. Welcome, guys. We're very happy to have you on.
Thank you for having us. We're happy to be back. We appreciate the kind words about us and our partners that are about to be brought in. You've been supportive since the first time we got to talk to you, and you saw what we did, so we appreciate that.
It's just as a fellow investigator, it's amazing, and I'm going to just bring out the next group, and then I'll ooh and ah over you guys from the West Coast, hailing from the lovely state of Arizona, like the Cardinals, I believe. They are both also longtime paranormal investigators. He is somebody I've followed on social media for a number of years. Tony from Arizona. It's the other half of the Staticom Project, Tony Rathman and Cherie Rathman. Welcome to the show, guys.
Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Hi, guys.
Hi, how you doing, guys? Nice.
So
when do you get going? When you get us started,
all right. So I think just to start, we all noticed the backgrounds that you guys have. You guys want to explain that a little bit? What exactly is the Staticom Project?
Go ahead, Rob.
I'll tee it up, and then you can finish it. So, Buddy mentioned direct radio voice. That's the genesis of what we do. Lourdes and I started it in 2019. It was something that predates spirit boxes or ghost boxes. It's not sweeping radio. It was just a vacant AM, short, long, medium wave frequency, and that's it. And we brought it back, and we experimented with heterodyning frequencies and blending tone generators and mixing boards and the whole nine. Got into other aspects of it, which we'll explain. And then a couple years down the road, we teamed up with the Rathmans because they are, in our opinion, two of the best people and ITC people that are in the field doing phenomenal research in and of themselves. But when we came to know them, they were already doing remarkable stuff. So you got integrity and you have a good body of work, good people. So we teamed up, and now it is the Staticom Project, which I'll let Tony take the reins on explaining why direct radio voice is now not what we call it.
Well, real simply, we went out for a 4-day, 4-mansion tour with Ron and Lourdes, and Ron was running this device called direct radio voice. Now, Cherie and I built spirit boxes for 12 years, but he was getting full sentences, not a word or two, not buried in static. And we were severely impressed. So I said, okay, explain this to me. How does this work? So he explained Frederick Jurgensen and Marcello Bacci and how they used a stationary signal on a radio. It doesn't fluctuate up and down. There's no scanning. And then we began to experiment with them with the DRV. But we ran into the one concern that scientists and skeptics will always point to. It's the low-hanging fruit, that their response is, well, if you get an answer that seems to answer your question, you're picking up stray radio. And we changed the name from DRV to Staticom when we switched from a radio to a white noise generator, which just produces white noise. It does not have the ability to pick up radio waves, walkie-talkies, baby monitors, satellite waves. No wave that floats around you today that is a wave of communication with audio data, it can't touch. It does nothing with them. It just passes right by it. And white noise has no audio data in it whatsoever. There's no syllables, there's no words, and there certainly aren't any sentences. But we figured out that we could replace the radio with a white noise generator, and that is now, well, among other things, and I'll let Ron talk about that, but slowing down white noise, live filtration, all sorts of other things we did to create what we've now called the Staticom Project.
Nice.
Right. That is an excellent explanation. The process started just that way. And we had one instance when I had what I thought was my mother and grandmother came through, and I only heard it when I slowed it down 50%. So on that recording, I sound intoxicated, but it's completely clear in normal speed and cadence and enunciation and everything. And then I remembered, and this is why it's important to have reverence for the people before us, that Konstantin Radove, who was one of the pioneers of EVP and ITC research, who also studied under Carl Jung, which will be important later in the discussion, said that the voices come in faster than we can detect, and certainly faster than the human vocal tracts capable of speaking. So we had already been doing what was live filtration. We took everything that people do with audio capture at home after the event. They slow it down, they amplify it, they denoise it, and then they present it. We were doing all that in the moment of contact to have the chance for dialogue. Once you go home and listen to it, it's over. So I had this instance when I wanted to slow it down because of what happened. So I expressed that idea and why. And I think even the boxes are missing stuff because how fast it comes in. So I told Lourdes, and then we had a conversation with Tony and Cherie. And if you know Tony at all, if it took him 48 hours, it took him a lifetime, because that's about all it probably took. And he found the component that we still to this day use to slow it down in real time. And he emphasized something that's very important, is that we looked to remove low-hanging cynical fruit. And for ITC, there's pretty much two. One of them is radio bleed through. That one's now gone. We're creating live white noise with a generator, not a sleep machine, which Tony did get voices on. But so that was one. The other thing that ITC ever gets hit with from a cynical side is that you're hearing things, the whole pareidolia, you're hearing warbles and artifacts of sound and misinterpreting those things, because white noise is random and we can discern patterns in randomness. All right. So I'll quickly unpack this one. Discerning patterns in randomness is not a statement to debunk. That is, in fact, an appeal to our intellect, because that is how we communicate. When we hear sounds, consonants, vowels, diphthongs, everything, right? In formation, referentially, contextually, in language that we understand. We don't ever hear the cat go meow, 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 meow and go, oh, he wants the keys to the car to get treats. Right? So that's an appeal to our intellect, for one. And for two, white noise is not fundamentally random. Random is what we say when we can't measure or calculate something at the time. It's not plausible or possible. So instead of saying, because there's quantum fluctuations, there's electromagnetic field fluctuations, charged ion particles from the sun, determinism, we think, as far as intentional speech. So you can't calculate all that in the moment. So it's not fundamentally random. It's computationally irreducible. And through that and the characteristics of speech we get, we lay confidence on the fact that this is communication.
Right. And we even had I'm sorry, I got why am I echoing? Okay. We even had the voices analyzed by audio engineers, and the response that came back was, wow, we've never heard this before. First, to the regards of randomness, that there's no way this type of speech with the diphthongs, the pronunciation, the emotion that's shown in the speech could ever occur from something so-called random, which Ron just explained. White noise is not random, but the communication is much clearer than what comes through a spirit box. It is something that when we do live sessions, TDSI, the Digital Seance Initiative, or even presentations or live running of Staticom, you can have an audience of people, and 95% of them, if they were paying attention, will be like, yep, that's exactly what I heard. So we don't run into that problem of warbles and artifacts of people saying, well, I think that's what it said. Most of them are clear enough that no one's going to argue what was said.
There's
Right.
no guessing.
Right.
Right. And
I think that's what I found most fascinating about one of the samples I've heard of you guys in the past. It said like Tony's last name, like Rathman. Clearly, I mean, there's nothing else that's gonna be, and it's so direct. It's so like personal. It's so like wow, this guy's in the room with me, or this guy knows me.
Right.
How does that happen? You know,
that is the most heard word we have gotten collectively on both shows is Rathman.
Wow.
It is unbelievable how many times it comes through. The other thing I wanted to say is that we also have, and I don't like this to be something that gets overlooked. Not only do we have audio engineers look at this, but we also have on our team someone whose expertise is not the how to produce sound, the behaviors of sound like an audio engineer. We have someone who has a linguistic background with interpretive transcribing right here. By trade, she's a court reporter. So when an audio engineer goes, well, maybe those are warbles and artifacts, and the court reporter goes, I heard clearly that it said, I'm going with the court reporter.
She has a bionic ear.
Yeah, which is a huge help when listening to any form of audio recording, whether that be EVP, Spirit Boxes, and now Staticom. But her ability to do that is a huge, because she's used to hearing people talking over one another, different dialects, different slang uses, and she's got to pick that all out and record it properly for the state of New York. She does that for her employment, and now she does it for us with the paranormal.
Yeah, that's true. I won't even sometimes you get mad at your other half. Sometimes you murmur under your breath. I won't even do that if she's in the house. She'll hear it.
Now, did you guys happen to say that you play it back live to do like a live feed so you can have some kind of a dialogue?
We don't play it back live. We do everything that people do when they take audio evidence home live. Mm-hmm. We do the cleaning up, the denoising, the filtering, the slowing it down. This is the first, this project, this 4 people, the first time in ITC history that white noise, pure white noise, has been slowed down in real time. And we did it so that we could hear the vocals more clearly. And it has made a tremendous difference. Most of the time, we'll hear a higher percentage in the moment versus before we would hear a lot more in review.
But to answer your question, yes, this all runs live. All the processes Ron just stipulated all happen live to allow us to have that true two-way communication back and forth.
So when you guys are trying to do this live, whose job is what? Like, who's slowing down the audio? Who's trying to listen to?
It's all done automatically. It's
all done automatically.
It's all built into the system. Every aspect of the components have a special job. Those jobs are timed. They are put together in a frequency so that everything's coming out correctly. Now, are there adjustments to be made during certain times? Sure. We may adjust the speed if they're not talking as fast as they were the night before. So we'll make some adjustments prior to the session beginning, but it's all built into the system.
Yeah. Damn, so if it helps a little bit, I could play one of their clips now, so it gives you an idea of what.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's go.
That would be cool. But yeah, it's a closed circuit system. The generator is making white noise. It goes into an interface which goes through all the software, which is a Frankenstein's monster of components. If you were trying to produce Beyonce's next hit, you wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
Right.
And that's not for lack of trying.
Here's I Am Somebody is what I'm going to play.
Wow. So when you guys hear something like this, what's the next move? Like who says what?
What you just did. Wow.
We try to, a lot of times we get shocked, but when we're not shocked, we try to dialogue. If they say something, we'll expand on that and see if we get a response.
Right.
So, and sometimes we do.
Do you guys try to pick out like key words and something that you heard to try to expand on what they were saying?
That's one way of doing it that you
Yeah.
can do it. Yeah, you pick up on a keyword and then you see what they can say.
And it's interesting because we've been questioning for a while if what we're communicating with, we believe, is consciousness, continued consciousness for somebody who passes, consciousness as a whole, perhaps a universal phenomenal consciousness. So the fact that the voice identified that way was crazy. The other thing that's got really, really uncanny timing and complete relevance is that of all the people that the entity coming through could have claimed as their friend, that they claimed Tony.
He's the
Tony's
man.
ghosts come through constantly on our side.
It's coming through on your side in New Jersey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ron, that was a clip from Ron and Lourdes. They captured that. And that two-way communication back and forth between their Staticom and our Staticom, that happens all the time. They will tell us what Ron, I'll ask quite a bit, what are Ron and Lourdes running Staticom? Yes, they are. Can you give them a message for me? Boom. You know, it occurs. It's
One of the other clips I sent you has a message that names both of us, or names Tony again. And it was right after he started doing direct radio voice before we called it Staticom, which was super clear. We asked one time, they were doing a digital seance event in Arizona. We were home here. And we asked how many attendees they had. And they gave me a number, 40. And so I called them the next day. I said, how many people did you have at the event yesterday? Was it 40? He goes, yeah, exactly. How did you know? Because that's the number I got.
Yeah.
That's incredible when I've had that happen. I hosted a medium gallery in the day. My wife had passed away 2 years before. And I was telling my mother before I left that night, there's 15 people that are coming for Heather. And we all got there, and it was myself, and then there was all these other guests and all these people that like knew Heather that were coming to this event because they wanted to reach out to her. And as the medium's walking through, he's like, I see the number 15. He's like, that's how many people are here tonight for Heather. There's 15 people. Like, how the did this guy just know that? Probably because the spirit of, and then he came through to each one of the 15 people and just like blew their mind with like these facts. But so that kind of leads me into my question. The spirit, the voice said consciousness. That's, as an investigator, that's always the question. Is this like energy that they are? Is it just a collective consciousness, and why are some more clear than others? You know what I'm saying?
We think it's a collective consciousness. Yeah, we have a philosophy of mind that we've adopted, the four of us, called analytic idealism, that suggests that reality is experiential, right? Which is the only thing we can ever know. If you know how heavy something is, what color it is, what it tastes like, it's an experience. We can only know anything through acquaintance, directly or indirectly, through experience, right? So we believe that consciousness is the ontological primitive. It is the one thing that, because you can reduce everything in the world to try to explain what reality is, but at some point you have to stop. You have to have a reduction base where you go, all right, otherwise you're going to circle and chase your tail, right? You can say the body in terms of organs you can reduce in terms of tissues to cells to subatomic particles to quantum, but at some point you have to stop. So consciousness is the primitive. That is the one thing with primacy. And then we are each part of it, but we're dissociated. So it is objective to us from our perspective, the same way my thoughts to you are objective. You can't control them, seemingly can't read what my mind is thinking, right? And I can't influence yours. And we can't change the external world, which exists out there, just by wishing it to do something, right? So we're connected to it, but dissociated. So we think that that's what happens is when you pass, your physical body is the extrinsic view of your inner phenomenal conscious life. And when the dissociation ends, you reassimilate back into the universal phenomenal consciousness. Your consciousness continues. You just don't have personal agency. You're not Buddy who's making decisions and controlling things anymore the same way, but your experiences still carry on. So we do think that was a pretty safe and accurate depiction for what we think we're communicating with.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah,
that's awesome. Ooh. Brendan, how you taking this in? Brendan's not the ghost guy. He's
I
a
am not the
sportscaster. I'm a
ghost
ghost
guy.
guy. Are you?
I'm intrigued by
absorbing
I'm intrigued by all this, and I'm taking it all in. I would like to know how you guys started this partnership. Like, where did you guys meet? How did you guys decide to go into this together as a group?
Anybody can tell that story of the four, but I think it should be Tony.
Send him the Staticom.
We run a Monday night podcast called NC Voices Paranormal Evidence, where we review evidence from investigators all over the United States, sometimes from overseas. We had Ron and Lourdes on as a guest one night, and they did great show. It was just fantastic. And then Chris and Audra, who it was the four of us, it was Chris, Audra, Cherie, and I. They moved from Phoenix to North Carolina. So we wanted to find a way to fill in their spot. So we asked Ron and Lourdes to fill in, and the shows in between those weeks were fantastic. So when Chris and Audra came back, we said, hey, let's bring them on the show full time. And
the highest rating or reviews
right. One of their shows was one of the highest viewed. And so we brought them on as permanent hosts. Then, we were doing the show every Monday night. We were exchanging information about different investigations. Then we went out to, like I said, New Jersey for the 4-day 4-mansion tour with Ron and Lourdes. It was four of us. That's when I saw DRV. We continued to talk about it. I said, hey, I got some ideas. Can we work with you? They agreed. And that's how it started. And it went from then direct radio voice, which Ron and Lourdes had brought back, luckily, because it showed unbelievable, just unbelievable results. And then we cut out some of the low-hanging fruit, like we talked about, so that science and skeptics can't just say, oh, you're picking up stray radio waves. That's not possible. So now we changed the name from radio voice. We couldn't call it that because there was no more radio. So we called it Staticom because it uses purely broadband white noise static.
And that's how we
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just
Now, what made you guys decide to go with this piece of equipment to start out, as opposed to like the voice boxes or whatever else everybody else uses?
Well,
Inadequacy.
only in the paranormal, when your woman points to you and uses the word inadequacy, is it a compliment. Not in the bedroom, nowhere else. But right now, bravo. Yes, she's not wrong. I call the spirit or ghost box the Q-tip of the paranormal, right? Because the Q-tip is what? It's a branded product. It's a cotton swab.
Right.
Mhm.
We call it by that because of the product brand made itself synonymous with the item. ITC is synonymous with spirit boxes or ghost boxes. That's what everybody knows. Television made sure of it, and that's what's cemented.
Right.
I watched Marcello Bacci, Friedrich Jurgensen. I watched who's the father of direct radio voice. Marcello Bacci made it most famous. I came across Dr. Annabella Cardoso in Spain, who of all the pioneers, I'm not talking the TV pioneers, I'm talking the people who were the pioneers of EVP and ITC research from Europe. She's the only one left surviving, if I'm not mistaken. The gentleman who coined the term ITC, Dr. Ernst Sinkowski, was a physicist from Germany. Marcello Bacci, she sat with all these people. So she mentored me into it. I read all her books. To this day, Tony and I still communicate with her. She'll text us. She loves what we're doing. She endorsed my first of the 4 books I have out now. And I saw what they were getting with direct radio voice, having conversations like we're having through an old vacuum tube radio. Didn't have all the spring reverb and all the blinky lights. It was just that. And I was like, wow. And I looked at her and went, how is nobody doing this? And I wanted to contribute and get further involved in ITC. Now, unlike Tony, who is extremely skilled and capable, and he brilliant ghost box builder, his legacy may not reflect that to the degree it should, but the boxes he built were unbelievably good. They were quiet, efficient. So when somebody like that tells you they're not using them anymore, that's a big deal. So I can't do that. If I was soldering regularly, I would be high-fiving people with fewer fingers. So out of that inadequacy for keeping all of my digits, I found something else, and I couldn't believe that this had not been perpetuated through ITC, that it just got discarded, and the Frank's box became the prototype for all ITC. Not that it doesn't work. I believe it works, but we think that the method truncates the messages, the brevity to the messages that we think the sweep interrupts. because we think the way the voices come in is stochastic resonance. It's every frequency we can hear, 20 hertz to 20,000 is white noise. That's what we're using. So she noticed that. If you want to explain how you noticed it with the ghost box when it sweeps.
Well, when I first began, paranormal investigating and was getting, I was seeing the ghost boxes and the spirit boxes, and people would get responses. And I noticed that when people got responses, I could hear radio and I could hear music or the DJ. But I did notice, though, that when I heard responses, and I'm sure other people heard them like this as well, that they would either be below the sweep or above the sweep, and it would replace it. So after that, and working with white noise, we all kind of sat down and figured out that we believe that perhaps with the ghost boxes and spirit boxes is that the responses are coming through the white noise that's within the sweep and not actually using the sweep itself. So that's what
the original theory behind like Frank Assumption creating the Frank's box was that spirits would take the fragments of radio and reconstruct them into their own sentence. While through the research with white noise and Staticom and what Lourdes just explained about when they'd hear a voice, it wasn't on the level of whatever radio broadcast was coming. It would come in above or below. So they weren't using radio at all or the fragments of sound. They were literally speaking in the 20th of a second or 5th of a second of white noise. And like I said, when we replaced radio sweep and the radio altogether and just use white noise, we feel that's how we're getting full uninterrupted sentences because there's no break in the communication method.
Right.
Yeah. And
I know exactly what you guys are talking about because like we usually, I was always skeptical about the spirit box myself, but then, as you use it more, it's like, wow, there's some really, really like close answers here. But it doesn't come through on the it doesn't come through on that. That's just like in the background for a second. Because some of these words, some of these sentences are like 12, 20, 25 sweeps, 25 different stations. There's no way that, I mean, maybe there's a way because the spirits and they're unknown and all their abilities are unknown. But I honestly, I don't believe that like a spirit could coordinate that many radio stations. That's just impossible.
No, that's the problem too. Is that a lot of these things are axioms where they're just held beliefs that get passed down that nobody questions. It's just how it is. So through an act of not deliberate, sometimes maybe deliberate spiritual bypassing, we just accept they can do this stuff. So they're moving sounds at breakneck speeds, like the Flash on cocaine playing Scrabble. Just put letters in the right places at the right time with no lag or latency in process whatsoever to make words manipulated within an electronic device, which is the whole thing lacks explanatory power. But when you come into this, you accept it because you hear stuff that does sound timed and relevant, right? We think the boxes work. So we look back at the process, and instead of approaching this with epistemic dependency, where we just take what somebody else says as the value, we looked into it more. And then through Tony's work, which was really extensive with ghost boxes, and ours with white noise, both before and with the Rathmans, we came to the determination that it's resonance within the sweep. It's the white noise. It's irregardless of what the sweep is saying. They're not manipulating that stuff too. And it leads to all kind of confusion. People who think that it is manipulating the sound fragments will then take that radio that sweeps and they'll put it in a Faraday pouch to block the radio. You bought a radio and then you're trying to block it. And then they run a 3.5 millimeter plug speaker out to an external thing outside the Faraday pouch. You just recreated the antenna.
Right. The other thing too we did tests. We recorded running water. We recorded fans. I literally taped microphones to my car when I drive back and forth from work to get the wind, the rush of wind sound. And could I pull voices from all of those? I could. But the problem is that there wasn't consistency or a spectral frequency, a flat spectral frequency within the white noise, because the pitch of the wind, the force of the wind would change. It made it really hard to extract the voices. A white noise generator has a spectral frequency of 1, meaning every sound from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz is at the exact same level. And then through stochastic resonance, whatever the spirit speaks will cover some of those frequencies or overlap it, causing their voice to get elevated. And then we cut everything off underneath and we have just the voice.
And then the importance of the white noise generator running live is because if you were to use a sleep machine, it can get embedded, the response get embedded in the chip quarter that it has, because that's what happened to Tony when he did an experiment, and they imprinted on the chip recorder, and so he couldn't use that machine anymore. So any recording of white noise is potentially that can happen. So it's better to use a white noise generator that generates it in real time.
No recording possible.
That was my next question. I have a it's like a pod, and I plug it in, or it has batteries. I put it outside my office when I'm having a conversation with my client, and I don't want everyone to hear. It's just So it is. Could I use something like that, or no? That would be.
That's exactly what I used.
You could use it, but if they imprint on the chip recorder, that's it. It's done, because that voice will always be there. Yeah. So it'll contaminate anything else you can possibly get with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Tony can speak to his experience with it, because the two things that led to us removing the radio and going with the idea of the resonance was we did a zinc mine below the surface of the earth, which is the geological Faraday cage. Radios and cell phones and their signals go there to die. And doing direct radio voice, we still, with the white noise, got voices. Tony did something with one of those machines in front of a live audience, which I will always tell him was ballsy, because he took a risk that you'll take it home and who cares, but he did it in front of an audience and it paid off, but it also led to the second reason why we don't use a radio. But I let him tell it. It was phenomenal that he chose to do this.
Yeah, I did do it in front of a live audience. I had a sleep machine, just like you're talking about, in my bag. I was reaching for the radio, and I saw white noise selection on it. So I thought I'd try it. So I plugged it in, asked a question. Answer came through. But then I noticed that answer repeated every 3 seconds, because it's not live white noise. It was a 3-second recorded of white noise, which would repeat every 3 seconds. Not that you'd know that if you had it next to your bed, you were trying to fall asleep, it would sound like it was just producing it, but it doesn't. That answer got recorded onto the chip, just like if you were doing an EVP session, you had your recorder down, and that answer repeated, and it's still there today. That was, I don't remember how long ago, but it's still on there. So that's when we looked at it and said, you know what, we need a white noise generator, a live white noise generator, and that's how Staticom became Staticom.
Yeah, so the point of that is that a spirit cost Tony $24 on Amazon.
Yeah.
But worth it.
It's worth it. Yes, it was.
That's not bad. That's not too bad.
That's
All right. Can we play another one? I think I have like 5 clips from you guys, so I'll play another one.
They're all short. Let me know what you're going to play, because one of them I sent you, the bonus one, has a really odd story to it.
Which one is that? They have names.
Just Staticom.
I'll play that one. There we go. Kind of says what you guys are doing there.
Right.
It does. So here's the interesting thing. I'll try to make this a very short story. We recorded that 4 years ago. We watched Tony on a podcast on YouTube. It ended. We're looking at our own YouTube channel, and we're look at all the old stuff we did. Let's watch some of them. I play a video. It's 5 minutes long. A minute into it, she hears something, but she knows I want to finish it, so she bites her tongue. We get through the whole video. She goes, "Go back to the beginning." Minute and 8 seconds. There's this voice, and we heard it, and we were like, and we put it in this. And we put it on the computer. We listened to it. It says Staticom. So I said, I'm going to send it to Tony and Cherie, but I'm not going to tell them everything. So I sent it to them, and they heard it, and they said amongst themselves that they heard Staticom. Wasn't the clearest one. We've gotten clearer ones since we've developed the method. So I said, well, it wasn't recorded, recently. It was recorded in the month of January. And he goes, oh, this was like March, this this year. And he goes, oh, so like 2-3 months ago. I was like, well, it was January 2020. And he goes, wait, what? So that was 3.5 years before we had the name Staticom. We barely knew each other. We knew of the Rathmans. They knew of us.
We didn't know each other.
But a voice came through recognizing that we were using white noise, apparently, and said Staticom. Now, go back to what I said before about universal phenomenal consciousness. If we're dissociated from a consciousness that we're all part of, but contribute to, right? Then that name, which we found out, which was gifted to Tony for us to use from somebody else, he coined that name 10, 12 years ago. So that name was already out there. When we did this, they heard the white noise use, and somebody came through and said Staticom.
This was pre-software, pre-anything. It was just the
Just a
boom
radio.
box, and that's it. That was it. The boom box. That was it. Not even the software we were using.
Yeah.
So there's your space-time constraints theory, right? Because space and time are both experiential states. Their consciousness doesn't exist underneath space-time like it's a scaffolding for consciousness. They're experiences. Experiential states are a conscious experience. Therefore, consciousness has to have primacy over space-time.
Right.
So it makes this completely allowable.
Pretty awesome.
Bams, where you at here, dude?
That blows my mind that happened so many years before you even had the name down and before you even had the idea really like completed. Like you said, you guys were still working on it.
Yeah.
We didn't even know each other.
We barely knew.
Right. Literally blows my mind just thinking about how it's just that's something that wow. That's
And, like people talk about it like, oh wow, how new and supernatural this is. This is nothing new. Like Carl Jung, you guys talked about Carl Jung in the beginning of the show. This is something Carl Jung came up with, like experienced with and experimented with and theorized 70, 80 years ago.
Right.
The human subconscious connected to the universe. I do believe it's a thing. We will have a show the end of May that will really dive into collective consciousness and subconscious connections to the universe and Carl Jung's synchronicity. But it's a subject matter I wrote a few papers on in college so far. It's like that scientific connection to the paranormal.
I'll send it to you. I wrote an academic essay. It's on academia. It was top 5% for like a month or two on stone tape theory, psychometry, reimagined through analytic idealism. Because what we talk about analytic idealism, the four of us, that is Jungian in nature. It's more of an analytic philosophy approach to the different versions of varieties of idealism that get floated around. But this one is pretty well on par with Jungian philosophy, and that is the whole idea behind a universal phenomenal consciousness from which we're dissociated.
For sure. Before we get too lost, I'm going to play another clip. It's a 12-second clip. Another one, just like really intelligent, like really intelligent voices, man. Just really great stuff. Here we go. No cops.
What's your favorite part of this house? What room?
Tony, take it away.
Well, this was recorded. All six of us, the whole EVPE team, went out to North Carolina to investigate this house. Lourdes asked a very simple question: What's your favorite part of the house? We were expecting an answer such as the study, the dining room, whatever. But this house was on 5,000 acres and was in the middle of nowhere. So the answer that was given was not only valid from a timing and relevant standpoint to the question Lourdes asked, but it was accurate into the point, the time frame within when these people were living. I mean, slavery was still going on. The house was in the middle of nowhere. There were no cops. The house had safety. The children could play. That was about as intelligent of an answer that could have been received from that question.
wow.
Oh, Norway. Awesome.
Good morning.
How you doing, Norway?
That's so cool.
English. Awesome. Okay. Bams?
Buddy, you got another clip? You said
Yeah,
you
you
had
want me to play it?
5 clips? Yeah, just play another one.
I can play our next one. I'll play this one here. This looks good.
care about energy that has the ability to influence your dream state, has the ability to influence you as a person. Because
The man. I heard Silent the Man. I'm just saying because you're talking about that.
Yeah, I
I
heard
heard
that
Silent the Man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, it knows I'm coming for it. It knows. It knows. That's why this stuff I'm wearing is all been blessed. And so
What'd you hear?
they are no protection.
Ooh, that's what you heard?
That doesn't sound like it. Jesus Christ says something different.
That's right.
So let me look at a timestamp.
Yeah, so you can see better. But yeah, I hear you.
That one's at 37 minutes. Oh,
Yeah.
this one's stopped recording because of the card's full. I have to empty the card in this one.
So we've already been into one house in which an incubus attacked a woman. That's
Wow, that had a lot. He had a lot to say there, huh?
Wow.
Yeah, that was New Orleans last year. The guy in the image, Chris Talley, him and his wife Jen do great ghost tours down in New Orleans. And he was talking about going to some dark, demonic, haunted, something evil place, whatever. And that's why his stuff was blessed. And the voice was just, it was very, I mean, it was speaking to what he said. There are no protection from evil. A priest is protection. I said my recorder was full. It told me to check my equipment.
And it goes, oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, I think there's something wrong with the equipment. Oh, great.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it says, like, if this happens, then leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
right out. That kind of stuff would freak me out. I'd be like, all right, I'll see you later. Like, I'm out.
The gentleman was talking about an instance of occurring
Right.
the last time he was there. And then that's when they say, if that happens or if it happens, leave. Yeah.
Yeah, they were telling him what to do when he goes back to that place if the same thing happens.
Oh, man.
Incredible.
So that's remarkable that you guys can have like live conversations with the spirits and like kind of dive into what they say, because like you said, a lot of times teams will record and then go back after and hear the answers that they couldn't hear live.
Yeah, now we've had crazy
you
stuff.
being able to like actually communicate seems like you get A, better content, and B, you kind of get to know exactly what this spirit's trying to talk to or get their point across with, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's real two-way communication. It's as close. It's the closest thing probably to Thomas Edison's phone to the dead that exists so far yet today.
yeah. And Tony, I want Tony to tell you real quick about. So she'll come downstairs for water in the middle of the night. I'm playing with the system, and it'll go, "Hi, Lourdes." She came out of the shower in our hotel room in Massachusetts at the Paracon, and the voice goes, "Hi, Lourdes," and she goes, "Hi, how are you?" Just being polite, and the voice goes, "I'm good, babe. Love this bitch." And this whole, and she was like,
Oh, what?
Tony calls me one time. I let him tell it, and he goes, "I had something happen that never happened to me before in 11 years of 12 years of building ghost boxes," and he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, when we first got this operational, we built spirit box after spirit box, but I would take that into locations. I would ask question after question after question. How many are there spirits here? Do you want to communicate? I'd be lucky to get maybe an answer out of the first 10 questions, maybe the first 20. I had turned, I think it was DRV at that time, but turned it on. They were asking me questions. I was the one answering. I was blown away. They asked me question after question after question, and I'd answer, and they'd come back with another question. And I was shocked. I've never had experienced that before.
And where was this?
That was his house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That would freak me out, I
He
think.
called me up and he goes, "They're asking me questions." And I went, "Did you record it?" He goes, "Of course." And I saw it and I was like, You're on the right path. Yeah. No, I saw the video.
Oh,
and I heard it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, is that the only time you've ever had spirits ask you questions, or was that just the first time?
That was the first time using DRV. Now it's become Staticom. They'll ask questions.
Really?
Absolutely, they will.
Like what kind of questions do you get asked like typically while you're trying to communicate?
Depends where you are. It depends what type of spirit is. Depends what their situation was. Depends on what maybe information they're trying to relay. So, to say typical, that's difficult to answer because it's based on a variety of factors. But I mean, I've been asked if I'd help them. I've been asked to redeem bad behavior. We've been asked to find hidden treasure that they told us existed, that there was a map, general location. Have we found it yet? No. We're working on it.
Daughters, that's awful nice.
Well, one instance of them asking questions, and we all four of us experienced it when we first started Direct Radio Voice. One of the questions was, "Can you hear me?" That was one of them. Like, "Can you hear me? Hear me? Can you hear me?" So it, like Tony says, it's the circumstances, but that was one of the instances. The very first instance of them asking us question was, "Can you hear me?" Because it seemed like they were shocked that we can hear their voices.
Right. We got a question from Polar Knights from out there in Finland. This ghost thing is fascinating. The level of energy needed to manifest is so high. Do you guys find that spirits need more energy to talk to you like this, to communicate so openly? Is it about energy? Is it about, what is it about?
I mean, we can give our own answers. For me, everything is energy.
Yeah.
Right. We don't know. We don't know from where they're coming from, what's necessary energy wise, if they have the same energies available that we have. So we're speculating a lot with regards to the other side and what's going on. And I don't like to in the nature of Occam's razor, right, to explain something with the fewest theoretical entities and not create entities for the purposes of filling out an explanation because there's explanatory gaps, hidden variables, things we can't speak to. Those are some of them. So we don't know how much energy it takes to manifest or to come through. We just know what we can control, and we try to do the best we can with regards to availing them with the whole white noise spectrum and cleaning it up so that we can hear it better, right?
Well, I think, and this is speculation, but if everything is energy, I do believe that they need energy, and that energy is us engaging with them. And every time we engage with them, it gets stronger and stronger. And that is the energy that I believe that they need in order to come through. The more you do it, the better it gets.
Oh, I never thought of it that way. Next.
Do you guys feel like you get better results and better, I guess, communication with them that you can like get the live feedback, or like not the live feedback, but as close to? You know what I mean? Like, do you feel like you get more answers that way?
Tony?
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, there's nothing that even compares to this. But as far as your question about does it take them a ton of energy to communicate like through Staticom, my answer to that is no. We can turn that machine on, not ask a single question. They're talking to each other. So the way that this machine works is that it's pulling their conversations into our perception, meaning we're hearing them. We can't hear them speak with our own ears because we're limited to the human body's 5 senses. The machine allows it to translate the frequencies within, and white noise is the catalyst for doing that. But does it require them a ton of energy to communicate? If it did, every one of them that we've heard so far would be passed out or gone. They would have used up all their energy because they talk nonstop.
Yeah, no, I mean, Tony does bring a good point. He does bring a good point, but that's exactly it, though, that they're talking to each other, right? But I feel like when we engage and have real-time communication, the energy of us engaging, I think if we give it energy, the energy comes back to us. But he is right, because when we do turn it on, they engage with each other. They are talking, they are speaking, and you can understand their conversation.
Right. Sometimes,
but I get, and this is speculation, but I do believe the engaging of it is what they need so they can engage back.
Sometimes language paints us into a corner for the purposes of expressing something. What she's speaking to is intent, which we feel, you can feel somebody's intention in a room sometime, right? That impinges upon your, right, the transpersonal space, and you'll feel that. So we think that that's a factor into it. But what Tony said, I agree 100%.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
We can turn it on, and if we don't talk, sometimes when we do that and to listen to see how it sounds, they'll say nobody's talking.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's right. He's right.
Awkward moment.
Yeah,
Dude.
he's
That's
right.
great.
Well, I
That is
think for me
great.
also, can I add that not only energy, yeah, I agree with you too, but also if you have an open mind and open heart, and you let the spirit let in with you or to you, but it's the communication connection with them that where you will get the question. You can have a communication, a two-way conversation with the spirit. I think
No
that's
doubt about it. I mean, every person carries different levels of energy, different frequencies of
I'm
energy.
Catholic, by the way, that's why.
No, but there's nothing wrong with saying that. I mean, we know from doing sessions that as the group dwindles through the night, the people that stay the longest are the ones that are the most interested, the most involved in it. Their energy levels are always higher. They want to hear more. They want to learn more. And when those groups lower in frequency or in number, the people who are just there go, okay, let's see what this can do. And they're talking through the thing or whatever. They leave. Whoever's left, that energy in that group is higher. And does that produce better results for us when we're doing it? Yeah, it does.
Wow. Question from the audience, guys. This could apply to you, to apply to me, to anybody who's really investigated, but it interests me as something. Could you collaborate with your Staticom? Do teams use mediums? Do you feel a medium helps or hinders?
No.
I do. I bring a medium in after we've investigated several times, and she kind of like tells me all this interesting stuff. What about you guys? Tell me.
We have
We've used-
electronic mediums.
Yeah.
Staticom.
Yeah.
She's right. She's right. It is the medium. We work with a few different mediums here in New Jersey. One of them, Richard Michelle, is a spirit artist, and we've actually had him drawing what he sees, and he captures the essence of loved ones. So we've had him draw somebody, and then during the Staticom session, we got like heart and stuff that had to do with cardiac, and then right. So then he holds the picture up, and then somebody in the audience identifies who that is, and that person died of cardiac arrest, and it's one of the relatives. So we've done it in lockstep before. As long as they're not talking over us and we're not distracting people from hearing them read, it has to be done in tandem, so to speak. But I think working with an evidential medium especially is fantastic because we're culling from the same place, I think.
Yeah, nice, cool. All right, guys, we got one more clip to show. I think this is most fascinating. I like this one the best because as a paranormal investigator, I always try to make that connection to the past.
Yeah.
And this right here, and I love it when the past reaches through and makes a connection to me. And I think this out of any of the clips that you said is the perfect example of that. I'm going to play it and you guys can explain it when we're done. There
Spirits, can you please try to communicate with us through this device? Who's watching?
Bachi.
That was clear. Do you understand the rumbling?
Bachi, are you keeping track of what we're doing?
Marcello, can you see us?
Yes.
Thank you. Marcello, you started this method. It's working. Can you please try to communicate with us?
Wow. Glad to meet you. That is, it says your name, says his name. That's everything you could possibly, that's everything you could ask for in a session as a paranormal investigator. When they say your name, it's awesome. But when they say their name and you can, it's
right. Because then you have an
so
idea
great
exactly
to
who
do
you're
that.
talking to. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Some of these results that you guys that the clips that we've shown is just mind blowing. It's unbelievable. Like, yeah, literally goosebumps.
Right?
Like
Goosebumps, dude.
that's the
Was
best
that-
way to describe it.
Was that the last one I sent you? Was there one more with Tony's your friend or something? Did I send you that one?
I think we did Tony's a friend. Did we do that? I am
No, we
somebody.
didn't do that one because that one involves Bocce and Tony's name coming through here.
I got 5 of them here. No Silent Man. We did that when we did DRV Bocce. We did some Seriously Consciousness. Just Staticom and no cops.
DRV Bocce, I think, is it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, there's another one. I guess I didn't send that one too because we only sent a few. But yeah, there was one when a couple of days after Tony started doing direct radio voice, and the voice came through saying, "Tony's your friend," and I said, "Tony's my friend," and the female goes, "Yes." And I'm thinking, why would she say that? And then she goes, "I'm asking."
I'm asking. Yeah.
Oh,
Jesus. So you guys do this project. You do this right from your homes, or you go to a haunted location?
Both.
Oh, cool. Oh, so it's mobile.
Correct.
Okay, so
Yeah.
anybody that wants to do this from home, any investigators, we get a white noise generator. What else? What should we? How do we put this together?
We can give you Tony was going to laugh. Because we get hit a lot now with when are you going to sell it and when is this available? So it was never conceived to go to market, so we don't have an exact plan laid out for it. It was done for research purposes, and it is, like I mentioned, a Frankenstein's monster as far as the assembly of components. But the short version of it, when we started, and we have clips with voices, we just used a regular world band radio on a vacant AM channel. You could run that through like a portal box. But if somebody wanted to get further involved, I mean, we're using a generator for the white noise instead of a radio. It's running through an interface. And then the software is a DAW. It's a digital audio workspace with a variety of components that are meant to denoise it, filter it, keep the signal strength maintained, and then comes out closed circuit through the speaker. So we, at some point, may sell a consult to like a mapping, like, an FAQs, PDF that shows each component and individual settings for it. Right. We just, in the last couple of weeks, Tony had issues with his, went off the rails. I had to help him. Just before that, I had issues with mine, went off the rails. He had to help me. So there is going to be a certain onus of responsibility on the operator for doing this, because when it goes off the rails, and sometimes you'll have technical problems, we can't possibly geek squad everybody who would either buy it or try it.
Right.
True.
And there are people out there who are trying to replicate how we're doing it now.
And let alone all the licenses that we would have under our names, because there's some of them that we bought.
Yeah,
So.
some of the components are licensed products, so we can't sell those as
Right.
our own proprietary ingredient. And there would be a bazillion licenses floating around out there in the Rathman, Yacovetti, and Gonzalez's names for who knows what. So, but the nexus of it, the whole building block starts with when we started, we were just using a radio, and we told people this, and some people went and bought radios. They sent me pictures. Look, I got a world band radio, and then that was it, because it's a grind. Instant gratification does come further or faster with a ghost box, but this type of stuff that we're producing does not come as fast with this method. We've had at the Hoover House in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, our friends that are by Gettysburg, they've done table tipping at the same time. We have learned that anytime you run something else concurrently with this, if it has any level of distractibility, it's not good. Because communication amongst people is like 75, 80% visual, give or take. If I go like this, I'm going to talk. We don't have the afforded luxury of seeing who we're hearing. So if there's other things, like blinky lights start happening, like on one of those EMF ropes, and people go, "Oh, look, that one lit up too," and then there's words coming through that are saying "buddy fair." Nobody hears it.
Although, and I'm not saying that I do not believe in table tipping, but when they were doing the table tipping, right, and we were running Staticom, I was not sure about someone that was using the table tipping, because I feel like she may have been manipulating it, but I don't know. But anyway, we're sitting there and they're doing the table tipping and Staticom is going, and all of a sudden we hear the table is nonsense.
Oh.
I was dying. It was
Yeah.
so funny.
So this is one of those times when having the bionic ear was great. The fact everybody else didn't was also great. Because
Yeah.
heard it in the moment, but her.
It was
and
me
she
and-
looked at me
and
and she went.
Yeah, sure enough, it was in the recording because we record everything. It was there.
And that's actually a really good question for Tony and Cherie, because I don't know if we've even amongst ourselves talked about that aspect. Do you guys ever, when you're doing your sessions, run concurrently with any other methodology like table tipping or rods or EMFs or anything?
Well, I mean, we've worked with mediums as well, and
Yeah.
between what they say and what Staticom says, you can tell real quick whether they actually have abilities or not, because it'll either coincide or it won't. As far as other equipment, I mean, Cherie and I have always said from day one that you can get more from audio than you can from any blinking device on the planet. When we hear a voice respond to a question we ask, we can tell, is it male, is it female? We can tell, is it adult or child? We can tell emotional state. Are they happy? Are they sad? Are they upset? All of that information comes even before we listen to the words that answered the question. So to us, REM pods, they're great. I mean, they're ways to investigate, laser grids, FLIR cameras, but to be able to actually have a conversation, get a response that you don't know what it's going to say, nothing compares to that for us.
Yeah.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah, and there is a level of distractibility
Yeah.
when you see something happening somewhere else, and then people go, "Oh, look at that," or "That lit up," or "Can you touch the cat ball again?" And then meanwhile, there's voices that are answering or coming through, and nobody's hearing it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Bams, you got anything you want to ask to wrap this up, because we're
No, I mean,
moving past the hour now.
they've pretty much covered everything. Just, do you guys have one memorable case, either together or separate, that came through with the box that kind of gave you like the goosebumps or anything like that, kind of weirded you out?
We do. I actually spoke with my grandfather.
Oh.
yeah, and that's a remarkable clip. That's on your YouTube channel, right?
It is. And
Yeah.
then I recorded it, because we always record as well. Sent it to my mother. She called within about 2 minutes and said, "That's your grandfather. How did you do this?" So I explained it, and I said, because he responded to me when I asked for him, and he said, "Howdy, Tony." And I was pretty young when he passed away. So I said to my mother, I said, "Did he normally say the word howdy?" And she goes, "All the time. That was like his standard greeting." She's like, "That's your grandfather."
That's awesome.
That's, for me, that's the amazing part of it. Seeing people get their loved ones come through. Like the first time that it happened, it was a young girl. She was 15 years old, and her grandmother came through, and she was crying, bawling, and saying how, like, it was life-changing for her. So those moments are the ones that I appreciate.
We just had 2 of them happen this past weekend. We did something in Chester, New Jersey, and 2 different sittings of the 4 groups that rotated through had somebody in tears from getting something very personal and proprietary as information goes, and they cried. It was a moment. It was a touch point. It had closure to it. My personal one is very similar to Tony's, where I had what I believe more than once now, my mother and her mother come through, name themselves. It's, do we know beyond a shadow of a doubt? No. But you look at the preponderance of evidence, for one, and for two, when you talk about this from a scientific aspect to it, science is not in the business of proving. Science is in the business of predicting what behaviors we're going to see next, what nature's going to do, what we can expect, what we can't expect. It doesn't speak to what is. Right. So when you have an experience like that, as real as it feels to you is as real as it is. And even when someone tries to dismiss such and says, well, maybe you're just hallucinating. Hallucinations are conscious experiences. So by saying that, they're denying the very statement they're trying to make.
Right. Great point. Sure. Great point.
That's
when you say have something as real as a past family member come through and say something so intricately personal. Mm-hmm. This, like I've had that with experience with mediums. Like I said, my wife will be 5 years this year, and just some of the things that mediums have like pulled me out of the audience. Like next week we have Tiffany Rice. She pulled me out of an audience and it had me in tears. And I've met this woman before. I've seen her do her thing, but I wasn't like looking for anything. She just like, oh, she comes running up to me and she just starts saying, spewing this stuff out like she was like there the night my wife died, or that she knows what my apartment looks like and knows that I not only what color I painted it, but why I painted it. I picked a grayish purple, which my wife's Heather, her favorite color was purple. So she's like, as a tribute, thank you for tributing me. Like, that's like just like that experience alone. Like you can explain it to other people who haven't had the experience, and like, oh wow, that's kind of cool, but they really don't know like the intense emotion and like like to be able to tell me what my wife said to me the day she died. Her last words to me were, it was, "I love you." It's Bud. She got me into Bud, I love you. To have somebody say that to me and tell me exactly what I did in that moment that happened. Only her and I would know that. So how the hell is this stranger? Right. The first I know maybe from Facebook that I've seen in a few live events. We know the same people. Maybe they could have gotten some things off of social media, but there's like intimate details. There is no way you can pull that out of any internet database, and for something to come through on a DRV like that, just that like that howdy, just that personal, meaningful. Like nobody else can really relate to that except the person experiencing it. Yeah, that's where science and the paranormal feel like kind of go in two different directions. But
yeah, well, that's a very good point. But to that whole personal experience, whether it be informative, whether it be just being able for whoever's getting the information to feel a little better, knowing that that person still exists, that they're safe. There has probably not been a more rewarding experience from what has come from Staticom than to see people truly get information or to hear from a past loved one and be able to say they're okay, or to literally have them tell them, I'm good, everything's fine, I'm still here, I'm still around. That's just something you cannot, you can't count in a monetary value. It's priceless.
And science can't dismiss these things because it's not something that's quantifiable, right? Experiential states are not you can't. How much does your love weigh? What is the length of your thoughts? Right? These are not things that they can speak to. These are experiential things, and they'll try to debunk it with other things. But even when mediums have been under neurological tests, there is something it looks like to when a medium is actually culling information and of high complex thought, high complexity to the information, and there's reductions in parts of the brain that should have increases.
And it does.
And they've had actors try to fake that, and then the results are different. There's something it looks like.
You can't replicate that.
I mean, now it's verifiable even through the second person perspective of having it on a scan, right? Which is not to experience it oneself, but the scan does give you a second person perspective. It's something it looks like.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Sure. All right, guys. We're a little bit past our time here, which is fine because I could listen to you guys talk for another like 3 hours. Honestly, this is absolutely fascinating, and
we appreciate it. I want to tell
having you guys come on and just like spread the news about this stuff. Just tell everybody you know. Tell a friend. Have them tell 10 friends. Run out and do this today. Throw out your ghost boxes. Buy white noise generator. Follow Tony and Ron and Lourdes and Cherie, and just do what they do because it's absolutely phenomenal. And I think it's absolutely revolutionizing to this field. It's just to be able to have that flow of conversation, that flow of intelligence. It's unbelievable. It's just next level for me.
We appreciate it.
We do.
Thank you so much. I've been running your websites, the entityvoices.com and the goignacparanormal.com. Please check these guys out as much as possible. Look at all this stuff on YouTube. You will not be disappointed. I promise. Speaking of teamwork and great things, including teams and sports, we're going to take about a minute and a half break and run a few clips, and then we're going to go to the sports side of things. You guys want to stick around and talk sports. If not, we get it. We're all going to bounce off. So if you guys bounce off, it's fine. Then we'll just talk football and baseball and whatnot. Okay.
I wanted to If there's a second, I wanted to tell the GOAT that in a previous life, I did sportscasting for boxing and mixed martial arts. I heard you talking about wrestling. I was scouted by the WWE in 2013. I was flown out from California where I lived at the time, and they had me calling action in the studio with Joey Styles, if you know who he is.
Oh, I know Joey Styles very well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was close.
WCW.
They picked 10 people out of thousands nationwide to bring into Connecticut to screen test. I was one of the 10 people at the time.
Amazing.
This guy.
So, yeah, and then my cousin also worked for, if you follow Wrestling That Deep, Ed Ferrara.
Yep.
That's my cousin.
Really?
He worked with WWE, TNA, WCW.
Yeah. Why don't you tell him who?
Very well respected man in the wrestling business.
Why don't you tell him who your ex-husband is?
Talking about boxing, and we're talking about wrestling, but
boxing. So it's just a 2-time world champion in WBA and WBC. That's it. I don't want him to be,
Who did you help train?
Manny Pacquiao.
One of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, before him, it's my ex.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
but
awesome.
I belong to that sports arena.
That's unbelievable. I love boxing. I'm a big boxing and MMA fan too. So
yeah,
I
I
love
did
it.
broadcasting in those two for a number of years.
Yeah.
One of the purest sports ever is boxing, in my opinion. There is like a sweet science to it. I know that's what they say. It's the sweet science. Boxing to me it's timeless. It's not bound to one generation. It's finally kind of having a resurgence nowadays, which is huge for a fan like me. Because the heavyweight division for years was dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even Mike Tyson was fighting tomato cans. Like, it wasn't a great division.
and he's doing it again.
We were with Mike Tyson in the same camp, and also my ex-husband used to promote. Oscar De La Hoya, so he's there.
Wow, Oscar De La Hoya, another one of the greats.
I know.
And one of the biggest promoters in the world too. He just had one of his fighters have like probably the biggest fight. It's probably gonna be the biggest fight of the year, really.
True.
With Ryan Garcia. King Ryan Garcia, and I think everybody thought he lost his mind going into that fight, and then he came out and he put on an absolute performance.
Yeah,
it was a great fight. He dominated that from bell to bell.
Yeah.
Ryan Garcia looked the best I think he's looked in many years. After that loss to Gervonta Davis, I didn't know if he was going to come back, and he looked really sharp. 3 pounds overweight, but I think they're going to get the rematch. The weight clause will be in there. He'll have to make weight, and he'll still do the same thing over again. I think he's just
For sure. Yeah.
I love boxing. Love boxing.
I love boxing too.
I just saw who was it? Caleb Plant was on his Instagram earlier. He threw a video out there of him slapping one of the twins. Who's the kid that just fought Canelo?
Oh, the Filipino guys?
No, I know who he's talking about.
I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on their name right now, but they're the twins. There's two twins, and they're like nasty too, just nasty dudes. And he just lost to Canelo Alvarez, which in a fight that he didn't even look good. I can't even think of his name.
They're in different weight divisions too, aren't they? The twins.
Yes.
They're lighter weight, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Canelo Alvarez. I'm just looking up Canelo's last.
Is it lighter weight than Superfly?
Is there a lighter weight than Superfly?
No, I think it's a lighter mini flyweight or whatever. I can't remember.
These guys the twins are both bigger than Superfly, but
yeah, they're big. They're they're not that big, but they're definitely bigger.
Welter and junior welter, I think.
Jamel.
Charlo.
It's Jamel Charlo. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's, Caleb Plant slapped Charlo in the backstage of some kind of event. He wants to fight him next. That's what he's saying on that Instagram. That's the only fight he wants. I think Charlo eats him up. But
Caleb's name sounds familiar.
Caleb Plant, yeah, he's I think he has like 4 losses on his plate now, but he was one of the bigger names in boxing for a little while. He's a Showtime boxer. He's
Okay.
lost a couple fights in a row though.
Is he a featherweight?
I don't know if he's a featherweight or a middleweight. You know, look.
Buddy.
But Buddy has no idea what we're talking about.
I have no idea. I know who Mike Tyson is. I watched this
I'm
video.
sorry, guys. We bore you.
Limitation of my boxing knowledge.
I've been removed from the game a little bit, but I just came across recently. I didn't realize that Tommy Morrison, who passed away, who was in Rocky V for movie enthusiasts as Tommy Gunn, his son goes by Kenzie. I think it's James Mackenzie Morrison, is a heavyweight. He's 22-1-2 with 18 knockouts. So apparently he fought Hasim Rahman's kid and stopped him. And apparently he's carrying a similar. Morrison had a huge left hook.
Yeah,
huge. They were trying to get a Tyson fight set up with him, and a lot of Tyson's people didn't want him to do it.
I don't know why Tyson's doing this next fight that he's doing, the Jake Paul thing. He's going to cash in, and I get it, but
he's having fun with his life now at this point. He's got nothing to lose. And
I feel like it's a no-win situation for Jake Paul besides the money. Like, what do you get out of beating a 57-year-old Mike Tyson? If you knock him out, great, you knocked out a 57-year-old Mike Tyson. But if Mike Tyson
knock him out, oh my god!
And you can't count Mike Tyson out ever. I feel like that punch and power just doesn't disappear like that.
It's the last thing to go. It's the last thing to go. If he catches Jake, he'll put him away. If he catches him clean, and he's still relatively fast. Yeah. A lot of those guys, their ability to get out of the way of incoming is what goes first. Right. That was what happened to Roy Jones Jr. When he came back down from heavyweight, he was never the same, and he couldn't get out of the way anymore.
Yeah, Mike looks great. I mean, he's training all these younger guys too. I know he was training Ngannou for a little while. He works with a lot of these younger guys in the ring, and he looks like he's been in the best shape. Like he looks like he's
still have incredible shape.
Yep.
I hope he knocks Jake's face off.
Yeah, me too.
The Tyson fight it just got legitimized. It's an actual professional fight, right? They just
yes, it's not a sparring.
It's not an exhibition. It'll go against their records, and not that Mike Tyson really cares about records these days, I'm sure. But I honestly, he's a monster. He ate a man's ear off his head in a boxing ring. He's an absolute beast. He knocked a man out 8 seconds. He was 15 years old. Oh my! Just what an animal in the ring. I think while he's 57 years old, I still think he's got a little bit of Mike left in him, and I think he's gonna come alive and eat the shit out of.
And we're seeing it. We're seeing it for the same thing that happens in the paranormal field, which is that if you have enough juice coming from the internet, you become celebritized by it, and all of a sudden you're on advertisements and posters and whatever else. Because you have 8 million people who follow you on TikTok, even though you've got nothing foundationally in the field that you've done. Now you're a commodity. So there it is.
Right, which is, that's the whole Jake Paul thing in a nutshell. The one time he's faced a boxer, like I know he fought that guy that had like a pro record of 9-1 or something like that, but he wasn't anybody. He fought Tyson Fury's brother,
Tommy.
And he just got outclassed. And Tommy's not a great boxer by any stretch of the imagination. Like just because he holds that last name Fury doesn't mean he boxes like one. Like he does. Tyson Fury, for what it's worth, can go down as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. He's definitely the greatest heavyweight of this time frame.
Yeah.
But all time, I mean, he's undefeated. He just beats people, and he's like fast. He can get out of the way. He can knock you out with power. He can hit you by points and just completely take you out of the fight, whatever he wants to do. I mean, that second fight with Wilder, he completely dominated. I didn't expect that. Like he just dominated. He used his size and skill just to beat him up. It was unbelievable, and he just continues to win.
Jake would get his ass handed to him if he fought Deontay Wilder, if he fought Fury, if he fought Usyk, if he fought Joshua. Any of those guys, he would not hang in the upper echelon of that division.
Any of those dudes lands any kind of punch, he would knock him out. He would knock Jake out. Any one of those guys. Deontay Wilder is one of those, not a very skilled boxer, like as far as like in ring ability, but like man, that power is something that it's very rare to have the power that Deontay Wilder has.
Yeah,
I would love to see him hit Jake Paul once. I would love it. I'm just sick of Jake Paul just talking about how he's the biggest name in boxing and calling out all these guys. Like, he has no business ever saying Canelo Alvarez's name, and he's out there calling him out like Canelo owes him a fight or something.
Canelo will knock him out too.
Oh, yeah. Canelo would dance around him and just toy with him and knock him out. It's all these guys would kill him. He's not a real fighter. Can he? Maybe, but these guys have been doing it for years.
What's his origin? Where does Jake Paul come from?
Disney Channel.
No shit. He's not
He was a Disney Channel kid, and then him and his brother made it big on YouTube. And then he started doing like influencer fights, and he was getting good pay-per-view buys. And then just one day decided, I'm a professional boxer now.
Oh.
And you can do that. You can just decide overnight and go in and do fine.
Right.
It works.
And now he's going to get his ass handed to him by the greatest boxer of the last 40 years.
Yeah, dude, yeah. If Mike goes in there in the shape that he looks like he's in, Jake's in for a long night.
Yeah.
I hope. Oh, I hope. I'll watch that fight because it's on Netflix and it's free. I wouldn't pay for it, but it's on Netflix. They're going to get a lot of views on that thing. That's a big get for Netflix.
Yeah. It's a train wreck that people want to not look away from.
Right. Right. And that's what everybody wants to see. Just the possibility that we get a glimpse of what Mike Tyson used to be.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's really turning into. It's not for Jake. It's everybody's intrigued to see if Tyson can still knock somebody out.
He can.
He can
still.
Yeah, I believe that too. Buddy, you want to take a quick break?
I can't get it off the screen. I don't know what I'm doing.
I know you guys wanted to go to a break, and we turned it into a combat sports discussion. But thank you for having us.
I have overtime, guys.
I love it.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, guys. It's always
Thank
a
you
pleasure.
so much
Thanks for having
us.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
All right, so Bams, I'm gonna play 2 or 3 quick videos, and then we'll get right into football, baseball, whatever you want to talk about. The draft
Sounds
is
good to me.
really
Yeah, the draft
fresh.
was big.
All right, here we go, really quick.
Starr checks on the runner, throw to second, a fake throw, or no, a real throw, went into center field. A hidden ball trick. We were all fooled, and the game is over.
Dilsey pitcher George Starr executes the hidden.
Years, I have never seen an afternoon like this. All right. That's one.
So this is y'all GOAT. I'm going to let it speak for itself. Air, ball. This is y'all GOAT, though. I'm going to let it speak for itself. Air, ball. This is y'all. This is the greatest to y'all. Small, straight up. Air, ball. This is unbelievable. Y'all, the rings don't matter. We got air, ball. That's crazy. Now, our go-to, we call the greatest, he don't even have to have his eyes open. Bucket. I'm talking about eyes closed. Bucket. These are all different games. Eyes closed. Bucket. Now, and y'all say he can't go left. He can't. He can shoot free throws left hand. Left hand, shot, bucket, lay down.
Without a doubt, Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time.
There's just no question. I don't know why people are arguing it. Maybe because it's a different generation.
I do not like Michael Jordan.
I didn't like Michael Jordan when he played, but
no, he killed the Celtics.
Yeah, right. I hated Tom Brady when he played, but Still the GOAT, dude.
Right. You just got to.
Still the GOAT. There's no comparison. Patrick Mahomes is not Tom effing Brady.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
Maybe not ever.
We don't
Andy
know.
Reid is not Bill Belichick.
No.
Yes.
He's not.
Or maybe
No,
ever.
Ever. That time has passed. That time has passed. Like Andy Reid is one of the greatest coaches of all time. He's never going to be Bill Belichick. Ever.
Yeah,
but Pat Mahomes has a chance, dude.
Right. All right. He has a chance. I don't know.
Dude,
if
he's so talented, man.
He is talented.
He is so fun to watch. He's so he's a good teammate. He's a great quarterback. He's clutch. He's everything that everybody wants in a quarterback. And
I'm gonna get the Muppet Show theme, and I'm gonna play it for you. One of these.
Yeah, that's fine. He knows he sounds like Kermit. He says it. I'm just saying, as a fan of football, I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan, as you know. I think Aaron Rodgers. You can make the face. Has nothing. Has nothing to do with the talent.
Especially now. But go on. I'm sorry.
Because he's been playing for a lot longer than he played for the Jets.
That's true.
If you put Aaron Rodgers on the New England Patriots with the same teams that Tom Brady had, Aaron Rodgers gets more rings.
Wow, that's pretty bold, dude. That's
more talented quarterback. He's more talented, more arm talent, can make the throws. That Hail Mary at the end against the Giants probably hit somebody in the hands.
Who has more rings, Aaron or Tom?
Tom played on better teams. And then the greatest coach of all time.
That's true.
All that stuff helps. You know what I mean? Aaron Rodgers was on a crap team and had crap coaches. He had some bad coaches, man.
And
Mike McCarthy was there.
In a crap field that's made to destroy knee joints.
Right.
As it does almost every single year we see it. And they took their biggest franchise player and put him on the shelf for a year because they don't want to replace a field. I mean, come on.
I don't know how they don't replace that turf already. I don't get it. I don't get why they haven't done it.
Yeah,
and I don't think they're done signing people either. I could see David Bakhtiari going there, but
I just think
they have the tackles already, so they're already stacked.
But if any team's going to fuck it up, it's going to be the Jets.
It's not the same Jets. I mean, Robert Saleh is an awful coach. You know what I mean? He's just awful, dude. But
the bald guy, that's the little bald guy they got.
But I just feel like Aaron Rodgers a full season with them, and they built up the offensive line for him. Yeah. I think they're. I think
they have no more excuses.
Really good. No, there's no excuses
except their turf. Yeah, and so I don't know what's going to happen with the Jets. I hope they play just as poorly as they did this season because I'm a Dolphins fan and I don't care about the Jets.
That Jets defense will be better, and that offense obviously will be better with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I can't wait to see him come to New England and play. I got season tickets with my family. That's one of the games that I have circled. I was looking forward to it last year.
Oh, they're playing Green Bay They're playing Green Bay, yeah.
They don't have to play Green Bay. They're playing New York.
Oh, they're playing New York twice. What am I thinking?
That's right, baby. We get him once at home, and I might go see him in the Meadowlands. They said he's going to come
to Jersey. Yeah,
I do want to go to Jersey. I think that would be fun. I also want to see the Dolphins play just because I like their team.
Oh, dude, it was such a great experience going to Baltimore last year before the second, third, and fourth quarters. But, I mean, we kicked their ass in the first quarter. But Baltimore's a beautiful city. And I look forward to seeing the Dolphins. I've never seen them in Miami play. So, I mean.
Did you just say Baltimore's a beautiful city?
It's a beautiful city. If you stay in the inner
not
city.
A beautiful city.
Big town, around Camden, around.
You stay within a 2-mile radius of the stadiums and you're fine. But if you go outside of that, it's a third world country.
Fells Point, that's gorgeous, dude. Such gorgeous little breakfast joint.
They do that on purpose, though. The only good area is that area around the stadiums. Baltimore.
Around the stadiums in Fells Point and inner Harbor is really nice.
Baltimore's disgusting.
West Baltimore's disgusting.
I'll say that. All of it is. I went. Actually, their stadium was beautiful, though. Camden Yards is absolutely gorgeous.
That's what I'm saying. Camden Yards, dude. It's like
right, but that's what I'm saying. The stadium. I stayed 5 miles away from the stadium. I will never let my buddy.
That was your first problem, dude.
It wasn't my fault. My buddy did the hotel. Gets in a Econo Lounge in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh no! No.
Awful.
They're probably making meth in the next room, dude. Jesus, it was horrible.
awful.
Because that's a bunch of hooas. No, that's what you want to avoid. That,
Dude, I went across. I ran across the street to go to the ATM, and there was bullet holes in the ATM.
I believe it. There was the day I pulled into Baltimore. I was driving into Baltimore that day, and I was like, maybe should I go to the Guinness factory? It's the only one in America, or do I wait till the one day that I happen to go to Dublin? And as I'm driving into Baltimore, there's 2 shootings in West Baltimore. Yeah. One was a UPS driver that got shot, and 2 kids were shooting each other in the street, and the guy got shot in the foot. And another one was a cop. I'm like, I'll wait till I go to Ireland. And I avoided West Baltimore altogether. If you stay within like
the stadium,
M&T Bank, big towns right here, Camden Yards, that whole area is nice. Don't go beyond like where Poe is buried in the north, and don't go beyond like Fells Point, and you're straight. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous city. Go beyond that, I can't really speak for the rest of it. But anyway,
all right, buddy. The draft happened last weekend.
Very happy about the draft.
You are happy as a Dolphins fan?
I'm kind of happy as a Dolphins fan, dude. Honestly, initially I wanted them to grab that center from Oregon with the 3 names.
Yep.
But then we picked up number 44 there from Penn State, T-Bone,
Chop Robinson,
Pork Chop
Robinson.
Yeah. He's fast, dude. I mean, he's not much of a run defense guy, but he's a hell of a pass rusher. No, you're saying no?
And that's what he is. He's only a pass rusher. He can't.
Well, he's fast, dude. Yeah. He's fast coming around that line.
Yeah, he doesn't stop the middle. Yeah, he doesn't stop the run. He doesn't do anything at all. But pass rush. But in the league, you need a great pass rusher, so it wasn't a bad pick for them. They needed it.
Right. They needed to make up for Van Ginkel and Christian Wilkins and all the great pressure that they lost.
Then they took an offensive tackle off the board, and then they went Jalen Wright, the running back out of Tennessee.
Something Paul, from Houston. He was high. He was pretty decent. I've heard some good things about him. Anything I don't. He'll be a good replacement for what's the arms. The left tackle we got from the Saints, who's old and gets hurt all the time. Begins with an A. Armstead, I was saying it right. He's either hurt or he's going to retire. So in a couple of years, that'll be a good replacement, and he can learn under one of the best.
Right. It's a good move.
It's a good move. Yeah, they picked up a running back who's
Jalen Wright.
Fast.
Jalen Wright, Tennessee running back, very good running back.
He's as fast as A-Chain and
but he ran a 4.3.
Runs a 4.2.
He ran a 4.38,
4.3,
4.37, 4.38 in the combine.
Yeah, that's
but
pretty good.
Dude, he on his rushing attempts, he averaged almost 7.5 yards a carry.
That's pretty good. I'm happy. I'd be happy with that.
In the SEC, which is just NFL light.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good running back. It's a good fit. They needed a running back. They got a running back. It was it was a good draft for them. I think they probably could have went a wide receiver a little earlier, but they took one, I think, in the 4th or 5th round.
They did. They took one in the last round from
not that they need him.
Virginia.
Not that they need him, but
they need him because this is one of their needs because Waddle and Hill are always guarded, and they always when that happens they throw to Craycraft or Braxton Berrios, who are okay, but they're not slot receivers. They're
right. And Berrios is gone this year, so
Berrios is coming back. He's a kick return.
Did he?
Again. Yeah, he resigned.
Well, he said his whole goodbye too on Instagram. I remember
he did, but 6-7 daas ago he resigned finally, and I like Braxton. He's okay. My dog wears the 0-0 jersey for the Dolphins when it's a football Sunday, and I gotta get a new one because I got Wilkins, and I love Christian Wilkins, but it's just too bad he's not with us anymore. But that happens.
But you like that draft?
I did. I was fairly happy with it, and honestly, dude, wow, not a bad draft for the New England Patriots considering that.
Not a bad draft. It was perfect.
Not without Billy Belichick.
This is the first time. This is the first time since this new regime took over that I feel good about the Patriots.
Really?
Bro, I had no faith. You just fired the greatest coach of all time. Jonathan Kraft is apparently running the business. I did not like that.
Yeah.
But
that's what
everything that I've read was that Gerard Mayo did this draft. It was all on Gerard. It wasn't Jonathan. It wasn't anybody else. Gerard had last say.
They should stay the fuck out, to be honest with you. They don't. They're businessmen, and I get that. But
right,
as close as you've been watching this team in the last 30 years that you've owned it, you're still not a football guy. You're still a businessman. So
and that's I think that's been lost in everything. Is that I think Robert Kraft is trying to get more involved in the player operations and all that stuff, and that's why I think ultimately that's why he ended the relationship with Belichick because he wanted to be more involved.
Yeah,
Belichick's like no. But yeah, dude, I feel like as a Pats fan, this draft was everything I wanted it to be. I talked myself into Drake May. I was very against it at first. Then I started looking at what other
he's had
players.
Some numbers.
I looked at like what other players were saying about him,
right?
And, like former players and current players, and CJ Stroud said something about him too. They asked him who he thinks the best quarterback in the draft was, or the most NFL ready, and he said Drake May. And I was like blown away. And he was like, just because I've seen him with his arm talent do things that nobody else can do. He's
right, for sure.
He's got a kid. He needs to be polished up a little bit though, like
a little bit. Well,
Belichick talks about his footwork. His footwork's sloppy. He definitely needs some work, but that happens. He's young. You know what I mean?
But then, from in a recent interview, I heard that his first 2 or 3 years in college football, he was throwing close to upward of 5,000 yards, which is incredible. And then his senior year, he flailed a bit, but they had a new coach come in with a different system, didn't use him properly as he should have.
And he never had any weapons. He never had any weapons either.
Right. He was playing for UNC, so I mean, they're not really a football team, but I mean, they're not.
They're not a real football.
They're more of a basketball, college football thing. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, they're not a football team. But then they took that kid out of Washington, Jalen Polk. I like that pick. Yeah. Not the fastest dude on the field, but man, he could move and get away from tackles, dude. Like he was a big reason why that quarterback went 8. Like he was, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he went to Atlanta. Penix.
Yeah,
Penix. Or Michael Penix. Yeah, he. I don't know. I thought Polk was a good pickup. They needed a wide receiver. Obviously, we lacked in that skill position. And then they went to the offensive tackles in Caden Wallace, who could probably start this year. Like, and then they took another guard in Layden Robinson, which is good because as good as Cole Strange is, he's always freaking hurt. Like, and then they took another wide receiver who I had a couple friends text me that they were excited about it. And I never even looked at him, but it was Javon Baker. And looking at his tape, dude, this kid can just flat out ball. Like, they needed weapons. They got weapons. They went so heavy at what they needed, which isn't something that they typically have done in the past. They always draft.
No, Belichick is always makes weird picks that
best available.
Sometimes pan out and sometimes really don't.
He believes in best available. You know, like not necessarily filling for a position because you don't know. The way Belichick broke down the draft on Thursday night was unbelievable.
Dude, that was brilliant.
Dude,
brilliant.
I listened to him and he was like, yeah, he goes, most players, you don't see anything until their second year. And then he went on to explain what the second year really looks like. And he's like, it could be the second half of the first season. It could be the second season. Or it could be the third season that's only their second season playing. He's like, it just depends on the player. He's like, but you don't get to know what a player is until they played a full season. Like,
for sure.
And he's right. You know what I mean? Like and people can talk about his drafting, but that dude's drafted some of the best football players of all time.
And I remember him making drafts, and the next day on the bus, people were like, "Oh, why do you draft? Like, who's this guy, Willie McGinnis? Who the hell is that?" Or like,
dude,
hey, Slater, what the hell is this guy doing? And these guys went on to like Hall of Fame careers, and now they're like a part of the team. You know, like Matthew Slater. He's like he was like captain forever. Now he's like right hand man to Gerard Mayo is the assistant coach maybe or the.
Yeah, he's like a special assistant. He is the right hand man to Gerard Mayo. And Matthew Slater was a UCLA guy. He was drafted late, I think in like I don't know if it was the 6th round or 4th round, whatever it was. Matthew Slater was a special teams player at UCLA, and Belichick drafted him to play special teams for the Patriots, and he happens to be one of the best special teams players of all time. It just worked out. But people looked at that draft and was like, what is he doing? The guy played like 15 years or whatever it was in the NFL at a high level. Belichick, I'll never forget Kyle Duggar, dude. I was very angry when they drafted Kyle Duggar because I thought they could have had Jalen Hurts. They could have had a couple guys that I wanted. You know what I mean? And they draft Kyle Duggar. Kyle Duggar's one of the best safeties in the league. But nobody knew who he was. Dude, on ESPN, they were trashing him. They were like, well, what is he doing taking Kyle Duggar this early? Like, Kyle Duggar's not even top 10 right now left on the board. And if you look at all those players, none of those players are as good as Kyle Duggar is in the NFL. Belichick's able to find these guys. Like last year, he moves down, gets Christian Gonzalez, who was the best corner in the draft and looked like a stud when he was playing this year until he got hurt.
He found Tom Brady at 199, dude. 199.
Right. Logan
best quarterback
Mankins,
probably of all time, which makes me a little nauseous saying, but best. These top tier quarterbacks, these top 5 picks are not always where it's at. And honestly, I talked about it last week, but the last 10 years, these top 5 guys are always like the first to get traded. This one's get like Zach Wilson. Yeah. He's shit. He's a bust. Some of these guys
tough, dude, because you get drafted into these bad situations and these teams don't build. What I think we've seen over the last few years is like the teams that have success with their draft picks build around that player's skill sets and don't try to make those players fit what they do.
Mac Jones is another one. Mac Jones, he got drafted. He just.
I feel like I don't think that was on Mac. That was
maybe not.
That was on. It's not. I don't think there's a maybe. If you look at his rookie year, it was his best year, right? And he had a real offensive coordinator.
He had a really good rookie year. Yeah.
Yeah, but he had Josh McDaniels calling plays. He had Josh McDaniels calling plays. They had a decent offensive line. The next year, they have a special teams coach in Fat Trisha, a defensive coordinator, calling plays. I can't stand Matt Patricia. Like, he's awful, dude.
He's got a great beard, but other than that,
he's awful. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
He
shit the bed with the Detroit Lions, and that was
he shit the bed before he even left the Patriots. The Patriots losing that game against Philadelphia in the Super Bowl was nobody else's fault but Matt Patricia. People were blaming Malcolm Butler. They let up over 40 points that game. Matt Patricia's defense got torched all game. Don't tell me Malcolm Butler was going to make a difference when nobody else could tackle, and they were out of position the whole time because Matt Patricia called the wrong defense.
Is that the one where Bill benched?
Yeah, right. But Malcolm Butler wasn't.
Malcolm Butler, and he got the blame for losing the Super Bowl,
which is bogus because Malcolm Butler, while he was a decent corner here, was never a shutdown guy. Like, he had one memorable interception. That first game that he started at left corner that year, he got torched like 175 yards from Antonio Brown in opening night. Like, I remember watching that going, dude, he can't stop this dude at all. Like,
my arch nemesis, the New England Patriots and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, probably the best coach of all time. The second to Don Shula, of course. Sunday Night Live on the Netflix. Netflix and Bill, if you will. You can tune into Tom Brady's live roasting, where Bill Belichick will be doing
which surprises me. That's
I cannot wait. I hope he gets hammered drunk and gets up. We don't support alcoholism here on the Ghost and the Goat. But I hope he gets a little bit comfortable and
Bill's
goes up there and opens his mouth.
Bill's not going to go up there drunk. But
drop F-bombs and like,
dude, I'll tell you what,
we're gonna about the crafts. And
you know that Bill's going to be talking
his fucking trash. Dynasty and just had diarrhea of emotions.
I think Bill's he's gonna keep it classy, but he's gonna get his shots in too. It's gonna be fun.
I'm sure he'll get his underlying shots at the crafts. At Tom Brady, even.
Dude, Bill has been so good. Bill has been so good in this media role so far.
He has, and a lot of his players have said those moments during the draft where he was commentating, he'd stop, there'd be a pause before he'd say something. But that's what Bill would normally drop an F-bomb.
Right. Dude, he was so funny. Did you see the video of him talking about the Randy Moss trade?
Yeah, I did see that. That was good.
That was hilarious. He's like, we were trying to do this deal for months. It was like childbirth. And he's like, and then they rushed, like, the Raiders rushed it, and then he's like, we had to fly him in for a physical and do this all before 12 o'clock the next day. He goes, we flew him in and did a physical. It was one of these. You good? That's hilarious. That's hilarious, dude. They didn't even do a physical, but that was one of the greatest draft day trades of all time for a 4th round pick. They got one of the greatest wide receivers. He had 25 touchdowns the next year.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable trade. That was
and
that was a hell of a score. And people are like, oh, Randy Moss is cancer in the locker room. He's trouble. He's not gonna. He blew up that. Oh my God, that was their 18-0, right? That was their almost undefeated season, right?
Yep.
That was unbelievable.
They played great up until the Super Bowl.
That's too bad.
They played great right up until the Super Bowl. That offense died. That offense died. That Giants defense was something fierce.
Yeah, dude. They really
they almost beat us in the regular season. They almost beat us in the regular season.
Was that one or?
No, I think that was 2011.
It was confusing because I don't really love the Giants that much. So
I think it was 2000. That was 2011. 2007, I believe, was the Plaxico Burress push-off.
Right.
Where he shoved Ellis Hobbs 15 yards and no call was even close. I was like, dude, I don't like penalties late in the game, but when one is that blatant, I feel like you have to call something. Dude, he full extended and shoved him from the back.
Speaking of bad refereeing and bad calls, it happens in the NFL. It seems more often than not these days where a ref will completely blow a game, completely blow a call.
I don't think it's more often than not. I don't think it's more often than not.
Maybe
I think
not
they do
more
a
often
better
than
job than they get credit for.
There's been a lot of incidents over the years. That's one of the questions that Belichick posed to Roger Goodell was, should they? He's a big fan of having a camera on the line, a camera on the back judge, a camera on the sideline, just to
who knew Bill
see
was
every
a fan of
angle.
cameras?
They miss so many things too.
Yeah, who knew Bill liked cameras?
Yeah, you're right. They don't, and it's part-time jobs, and they get I think it's close. They get $12,000 per game. So that's
which
not
is
bad.
crazy. Do they make $200,000 a year from reffing?
Yeah, right. I would totally be a zebra and go out there and make shitty calls. And
but you know what I did like is Bill saying they should be full-time.
Right. Well,
or at least I think he said at least
be more invested.
I think he said at least the crew chief, so they're constantly talking about football and what they can expand on. I like that idea, and I think Roger he didn't really answer it, but I don't think he kind of ran away from the idea of making those guys full time.
Right, Bill definitely knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he does, dude. He did such a great job. This whole weekend was a perfect thing for Bill to handle while he was transitioning. And I think him doing the McAfee show, obviously Bill doesn't do anything by accident. Everything's planned out.
Yeah.
But man, Bill nailed it with going to Pat because Pat handles him perfectly, gives him the leeway, but doesn't set him up for failure either. Pat broke it down today on his show or yesterday. And he's like, we had Bill and Roger talk. He's like, and then I was like, well, how do I do this? Because Roger's the commissioner of the NFL. He's not interviewing anybody.
Right.
He's like, and who the heck am I to ask Bill Belichick to interview somebody?
Right.
He's like, it's like an impossible task. So what I came up with was just them doing a sit down and answering some questions together. And I thought that was the perfect scenario for them. It was perfect, dude.
Yeah,
buddy,
really
do you want to talk about baseball? Hey, I'll give you credit. The Red Sox are doing better than I thought they were going to do.
Yeah, they're winning. They're winning more games. Holy Jesus, 17-0 against the Cubs the other night. They're hitting when they can. They're getting on base. They're playing some baseball. They're playing a little bit. Their baseball isn't as sloppy. They're having less errors.
Right.
Their pitching's coming through. Something could happen. Probably not, but I mean, they could not finish in last place. Something could happen, is what I mean.
They're 17. They're 17-13 right now, so they actually have a pretty decent record.
We're above 500. We're playing some baseball. I wouldn't necessarily bet on the Red Sox, but they're fun to watch right now.
I was looking at their
what's his name?
Their last 10.
Tyler Neal is coming through.
Their last
hell of a hitter.
Their last 10. The Red Sox are 7-3. But they have an atrocious home record for some reason.
Yeah, they do. They haven't won hardly anything at home.
They're 6 and
They
8
had that
at
West
home.
Coast trip, and they did really
Right.
well. What?
They're 6 and 8 at home. At Fenway Park? How do you not hit that ballpark? I don't understand.
Of all places, you think they'd be like LGRS and like Sweet Caroline and blasting it. Yeah, but
Oh, I hate that. By the way, I hate that. I hate Sweet Caroline, and even their manager, not Franco, Cora, said
Alex
it. He
Cora,
was
yeah.
like, "I hate that we're down in the 8th inning, and all of a sudden, we're down 4-0, and our fans are over there screaming at the top of their lungs, Sweet Caroline."
Yeah, half of them are hammered by that point.
They've
given up on the game.
They're
just drinking tall boys. It's so obnoxious. It was so obnoxious going to. I felt old going to the Dropkick Murphy show on St. Patty's Day because I got on the train with my girlfriend. I'm sitting like maybe 10, not even 10 feet across from her. We stopped at UMass, and holy shit, it filled up with all drunken college kids, and they'd start singing Sweet Caroline every 5 minutes. They'd get like 4 lines into the song, and they didn't know anything else, so it would turn into Yankees suck. Yeah, like come on. Like, while yes, the Yankees do suck. Come on, you guys are killing it. Just find another song to sing that you know. I don't know. It's just awful. It's terrible. It's so cliche at this point. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I love going to Fenway Park. I think it's great. Obviously, it's close, and it's always a good time. Like Fenway's
It's always a good time.
Like,
It's a little expensive these days, in comparison to Yankee seats, or even like I found seats in Baltimore at Camden Yards, for the second row in the section between
Baltimore's
the
always been
visitor
cheaper,
dugout
though,
and
dude.
home plate is $101. Dude, like what?
Baltimore's
the fuck are they
always
doing in
been
Boston?
Baltimore's always been cheap. Like
That's
to
great.
go
They got a
see.
good team.
Dude, Philadelphia is expensive too. I've been looking at it, and they're pricey to go see. Because I wanted to go see one of the best teams in the league. The Philadelphia Phillies are one of the best teams in the National League.
Right. You would think they would have a nice, cheap package or something available.
Expensive, dude. Expensive.
Philly.
But they're coming to Fenway this year, so I'm going to go see them. They're coming in June. June 11, 12, 11, 12, and 13. I'm probably going to go hit the 13th.
Two more sports are a little bit more significant at this moment in time because the Red Sox are, and we're only in not even in May yet.
That doesn't mean that baseball's not alive, baby.
It's alive. I love baseball. The Boston Celtics are facing the Heat, hoping to finish them off. That's tomorrow night. They're hoping to finish them off in Game 5.
Yep, Game 5 tomorrow at 7:30. They're going to be without Kristaps Porzingis. It seems as though it's not an Achilles tear like everybody originally thought. Thank God for that. But he will miss the next couple games. So the best thing that the Celtics could do is finish this off tomorrow night and give it some rest so Kristaps has a chance to play in the first game of the next series.
But Derek White rose to the top last night, right? He came through with
38 points. Yeah,
right.
38 points.
What's his name? Double. That guy. Tatum had a double, right? So I mean, they're playing basketball. I honestly,
Tatum's
he's one of the biggest fans. He doesn't see them going past the next round.
I don't know how we could say that, dude. I don't see it. I don't see the team that's gonna beat them next round. You know what I mean? I'm looking. Hold on. I was gonna look it up right now.
I think they'll have more trouble with the West Coast teams, but like Denver looks pretty awesome.
Oh man, Denver's Jokic is so good. Like Jokic is one of the better centers I think we've seen in a long time, and he's just so dominant, dude. He absolutely manhandled the Lakers, which was great to see because I hate
they're about to shit the Lakers out of the playoffs, right? They haven't shut.
Yeah, they did.
Yet,
they're done.
Oh, they did shut them out.
Yeah,
good, LeBron James. Good.
Which, you know what pisses me off? Here's what pisses me off about LeBron leaving. LeBron won't commit to not retiring. He won't commit to re-signing. He does all this at the end of the year to drag attention away from the fact that he just lost in the first round again.
Right, of course. Like he's a bitch. He's not the GOAT. He's a bitch.
Like last year they got swept. He dropped the fake retirement contemplation. You're not going to retire because you want to play with Bronny. Everybody knows that. And Bronny, who shouldn't be drafted into the NBA, is going to get drafted by a team hoping to sign LeBron.
Yeah, that's what everybody's talking about. Yeah, that's
because Bronny doesn't belong in the NBA. He couldn't even play when he was at USC. Averaged like 4 points a game or something like that.
He's at USC now.
No, yeah. Well, he entered the transfer portal and entered the draft too. So we'll see where he goes. If he ends up in another college or if he ends up in the pros, which I think he just goes to.
They'll just draft him because it's LeBron James' son, and they'll bring LeBron James with him, he's an okay basketball player.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's
okay. The next round, your friend talking about the Celtics not moving on. The next team that they face is either going to be Cleveland or Orlando. They're going to beat the shit out of both of those teams. I mean, Cleveland will put up a fight because they always give Boston fits. But with a healthy Kristaps, dude, they're not. No way. And it looks like the Bucks are going to get taken down by Indiana. So they'll play. They'll play the Knicks. And I think the Knicks end up winning Game 6.
The Bucks are without Giannis, right? Giannis is out. Is that? Am I
think
correct
so,
on that? Or
I think he's out. But yeah,
they got one cat that's leading them in, and he's just not strong enough to carry the whole team. That's chatting about.
I mean, to be fair, they're just playing better. You know what I mean? The Pacers are just playing good ball. They're a good team. They're young. They're good.
Oh, cool. Right.
They got some stars.
Speaking of good teams, we could flip over to the cold world of hockey, where if the Bruins continue to play Jeremy Swayman, I do believe that they could go a whole lot further. This whole switch thing, dude, stop doing it. Just stop. Utman, he's terrible. He's got a giant hole in between his legs, and they shoot it through every single time. Against the Toronto Maple Leafs throughout the season, they scored against him 12 times. They scored against Jeremy Swayman twice. The numbers speak for themselves. He leads the team better. You got to give the man.
But there's a reason why they're doing it. I feel like he wouldn't be doing it if it was that blatant. Dude, if it was that blatant all year, then they wouldn't.
Right.
Swayman would be the number one, no question.
Right.
But it's been back and forth all year because the other guys been playing. I'm not a big Bruins guy, so like I only know.
I'm not either, but I don't
I
understand what.
But I feel like the other goaltenders had a good year too, and they've been doing this all year. If the team's behind it, it's tough to say that it's wrong.
Yeah,
and it seems like the guys are all behind both of them. They might just be saying that, but
the whole team thing. But I don't know. Being a quasi fan, I'm going to go see the Providence Bruins on Friday. I'm thinking 3 of my clients are like, "Hey, let's go see a overtime and go see a Providence Bruins Calder Cup Game 2, Round 2 against the Hartford Wolfpack." Hartford was seeded 5th. Providence is seeded 2nd. Providence has played really good hockey this year, but against Hartford, they've lost a few games. So my client, Bob, is a little afraid. But I don't know. People really play some really good hockey. They played some really good defense against the number 1 Hershey Bears about a month ago, and they gave up a goal at the end of the game.
Do they sell out the stadium when it's playoff hockey?
Sometimes. It's not sold out just yet. Last time I went last year, they did.
I always enjoy watching. I always like going to Providence. You see the fights. It's a little more exciting sometimes. They.
Yep.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing? Greetings from Japan.
Oh.
Domo arigato for tuning in.
Gonna get banned for that. I know that wasn't great. I'm sorry. I don't know what that was all about. But yeah, so I mean, tomorrow night we can get the Bruins and the Celtics to finish up their first round series, which would be great to see them both get out of the first round this year. The Bruins don't really have a great track record of getting out in like winning playoff series. They have a talented team. They should win, but it feels like everybody's real pessimistic because of how they finish every year.
Right. They were the best team in the league last year, and they fell flat on their face, in the first round, right? So
yeah, they got beat in the first round.
WTF, guys, come on.
But it looks like they might have it figured out this year. They've been pretty good. They've been pretty dominant. Just like it looks like the Celtics are going to be really good, really dominant if they're healthy. And I said this going into the playoffs, if Kristaps Porzingis is healthy, the only scary matchup for me is the Nuggets and Jokic because he's just a different breed. But everybody else will fall by the wayside because they're too talented and they're too good. But without Porzingis, it really puts them in a bind because they don't have depth in that position. They have Al Horford, who's old. And, it's pretty,
oh my God, yeah.
And they have Cornet, but Cornet's not Porzingis, and they don't have anybody else close. And it really puts them in a bind. But Derek White is a baller, dude. He is
Oh,
unbelievable.
for sure.
38 points last night, and everybody's been talking this year how great he is and how he doesn't get talked about enough. And he's putting on. He looks good.
He's amazing. And funny story, it kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies saying the name Derek White and how awesome he is, because I knew a guy by the same name at the Bridgewater State Hospital, and he was not nearly as awesome or even awesome at all. He was a complete pain in the ass to deal with and complete piece of shit. But I mean, hey, I digress.
Hey, dude, that was definitely off the beaten track.
For sure. We are just over the 2-hour mark. Bam, is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up?
No, I think we hit everything. You can join Joey and I on Friday night at 7:00 for the mid card. We're gonna talk the draft, the last few rounds that happened on Monday night. We're gonna hit on some of the bigger wrestling news. There was a couple things that Cody Rhodes had said that I have some notes on to go over with Joe. And I think we're gonna add a pay-per-view in there because it looks like a slow news week for wrestling, because all the shows are kind of like meh right now. It's the hangover from WrestleMania, so it happens.
Hangover from WrestleMania.
It happens every year, and AEW has been kind of flat, so I'll watch that program, unfortunately, but it's probably not going to be any good. So we'll probably throw another pay-per-view in there and just talk about some old school wrestling. I'm hoping for an old school like WWE pay-per-view or an ECW pay-per-view, but it's all what the generator gives me. So we'll see.
Well, that's awesome that you guys do that. That's that could be sweet. So tune in next after the mid card on Friday. Next weekend, I will be filming for the intro of our non-live pre-recorded Three Dudes Brews, where we visit. We filmed last Saturday. We visited the smallest brewery in the smallest state here in Rhode Island, with at Crooked Current Brewing in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Nicole Lorenko met us there. She's the brewmaster. She's a female. Obviously, her name kind of does give it away. She's a lovely lady. She's amazing personality. She made we were like, we want to go here, we want to go there, and she helped us like birth the show. So if you're from Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and you like amazing craft beverages, 570 Mineral Spring Avenue, Pawtucket, Rhode Island. It's not far from Route 95. Go to Crooked Current. Tune in for Three Dudes Brews. Tune in next Tuesday night as the Ghost and the Goat. We have a little bit of a special show, Bams. We have a double-sided affair, if you will. In the first hour, we welcome Southwestern Para-Abnormal. They're a paranormal group from out there in the southwest portion of the United States. Obviously, the name does kind of give that away. They will be bringing us some of their best paranormal investigations from out there in the southwest of the United States, and talking ghost hunting, talking all this fascinating stuff. These guys tonight were just I just thinking about it just blows my mind. Anyway, I digress. And then from 9 to 10, we have the lovely and incredibly talented medium Tiffany Rice joining us. She'll come on and talk about mediumship. She's the official medium at the Conjuring House, so we can conjure up all sorts of questions to ask Tiffany. I've had some personal experiences with Tiffany myself over the years, so just to like return to that is just like it's amazing. So tune in next Tuesday.
Maybe she could do a live reading for us.
Maybe she could do some live readings for us if she has.
I'd love it. Yeah.
The energy. She's good. It's amazing.
I mean, if it's possible, and if the energy's there or whatever it is, like if it's possible.
Tiffany's the woman I described in stories as she pulled me. I wasn't even interested. Right. She pulled me out of the middle of a crowd and like left me in tears.
So I've never done that.
Telling me things.
I've never had a medium read or do anything. I've never done anything like that, as we've talked about. So, like, yeah, if it's possible.
No, it's like I think I'm seeing a woman, or I think I'm seeing no, your wife Heather, and very direct details, just like, holy shit, right? Just like blows your mind. So tune in for that next Tuesday. Be sure to tune into our Get Haunted. We're on the Get Haunted network. You can see us live on Facebook. On Bam's Facebook, on my Facebook, on a Van Down by the Riv podcast, on a Van Down by the Riv podcast.com. Be sure to check us out for all good things coming to the Van Down by the Riv.
Yep, be a friend, tell a friend.
Yep. Yeah, for Bam's the Goat, for Tony Rathman and Cherie Rathman, for Ron Yacovetti and Lourdes Gonzalez. I am Buddy Thayer. This has been the Ghost and the Goat. We hope you have a great week. Go Dolphins. Fins.